by matter. It's determined in that sense. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, you can actually be a dualist and be a naturalist. I mean, I'm not sure I can console it, but you can be a property dualist. I'm just wondering, like, have you heard of this? That it leads to determinism. That's what I'm kind of wondering.
If I will ask everyone to watch, I plug this as often as I can, though not as much lately, my philosophical proof series. You should have watched this, Mig, because if you haven't, because that was kind of the basis of my arguments. It's pretty much the main playlist on my channel, the 3 videos. I am a determinist in general. I'm specifically a determinist in relation to the God scenario. If a omnipotent being exists, I believe that if an omnipotent being exists, then there is nothing but determinism, because the properties of an omnipotent being is that they determine what the reality is. To say that there's an omnipotent being an omniscient being that doesn't control what it creates, I think doesn't follow in any way. Belief-wise, I am a monist. I don't believe there is a soul. I really wish there was. I don't want to die. I really don't. I want to live forever. I don't want to stop experiencing. If you've seen some of my later videos, that is my favorite thing in the world, is just to experience new things, which is why I'm drinking bourbon right now and not Miller Lite. I'm sorry for all you Miller Lite fans, but you're stupid. There's no point to that. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What do you think of NDEs? NDEs, like, what do you think of those?
I actually had a great website up right here in case Mig brought this up. I expected Mig to actually bring this up, and he didn't. The thing about NDEs is that I think there's definitely a very naturalistic cause for it. The assertions that people are able to understand what's going on outside of the room, I've seen no decent evidence for, besides people saying that people have. I've seen no real study on it. What I have seen, though, is, and I'll bring it up right now because I already had it saved, is that what people believe in after... I'll bring it up as soon as I find it.
Yeah, it does influence it.
It does influence. I had this very interesting discussion, and I use interesting in the least positive term that I can possibly use it, with a YouTuber by the name of Christ's Army 777, who gave me this book by Mary Kay Baxter about how Jesus came to her and showed her hell and revealed all of these things to her. I can't state this for certain because I'm not MigKiller, but I'm guessing MigKiller would deny that this person really experienced these things. It's more of a Dante's Inferno type of story, really. But I gave this as a point. This was a chart. I'll actually post the link as soon as I start talking about this. But this is people that experience NDEs before and after. Now, there is a great portion of people that were already Christian, and there were more people that were Christian. This was, as far as I can tell, a scientific study. If anyone can refute this, they're more than welcome to. I haven't looked into it too much. But the fact remains that less than half the people that experience NDEs experience anything of a Christian NDE. In fact, before an NDE, there was only, of the people that responded to this survey, only 2 people were Buddhists. Afterwards, there was 11. I'm just wanting to double check on this here as soon as I find it. Yes, there was 2 originally before pre-NDE, and there were 11 afterwards. There were 60% of the respondents were Christian. Afterwards, there were 72. Just spiritual, only 2 people were spiritualists, and afterwards 49 of those individuals. This isn't percents here. So my explanation for the NDEs is that it seems to be following a very naturalistic sense. That if you are brought up in Christianity, even if you don't believe in Christianity at all, if you die, as in your heart stops for a while, I can imagine that the scenario in which your mind creates would easily comport with your reality of Christianity, there's a videos on YouTube that discuss this very issue. There's a guy that died in France for a little bit. Actually, I think he never even mentioned that he died, only that he experienced himself outside of his body and walking down a hall and walking away, and it getting darker and darker, and then all of a sudden people coming and ripping off his clothes and biting him and hating him until for some reason he called out Jesus, and then Jesus came down and saved him, and then he became a Christian. The issue with these is that they don't comport with each other. They don't follow. They don't commingle together. If there is a source, if there is a God, these NDEs, when you go, either you go to heaven or you go to hell, there's a sense of peace, there's a light, but beyond that, there's no real collaboration among these NDEs. In fact, there's a study, and I've heard recently that there's some criticisms of it, but still I think it is strong enough at the moment to at least cast doubt on NDEs, called the God Helmet, in which you can put on this helmet. It's on Michael Shermer's channel. It's like one of his, I think it's his second or third video, in which it bombards parts of your brain with electromagnetic waves and actually makes you experience out-of-body experiences. During these experiences, people have been abducted by aliens, dragged to hell, had experiences with Jesus. It seems that it's very, very plausible. Nothing can really be proven, but it seems very plausible that such a thing could come about through naturalistic circumstances, these NDEs. There's really, well, you can destroy the God Helmet in the video.
Now, what if we had one?
One what?
Had an NDE. Like, I suppose if I had one, all you could say really couldn't convince me otherwise.
That's one of the first things that I stated in my intro. And actually, this is, I don't know if Agman's still in the room, but this is really an argument that I got from Agman, and I think it's very true. If you have an experience of God and spirituality, it's great for you. If you want to follow it, I can't really argue for you, for that is your experience. It does nothing for anyone outside of you. It really doesn't. There are plenty of people who have had real experiences. I believe these people when they say they think they've had these experiences. There's little, if any, doubt in my mind at all. The fact remains that these experiences happen to everyone. They are not indicative of a certain belief. They're not indicative of a philosophy of one solid source. This is exactly what we would expect if this was coming from our own preconception of reality and not from an external source.
Can I interject?
Please, but Mig's tired, so I've talked about 3 times longer than I should have already, so I'll try to make the response as short as possible.
Okay, yeah, I'll ask Mig, yeah. Mig, now I'm a theist, a Christian, in fact, but I want to ask you a troubling question. Are you a biblical inerrantist first? That's what I should just ask firstly. Just to make you think, too.
I didn't catch that. Could you repeat?
Okay, I said, firstly, MigKiller, are you a biblical inerrantist?
No, I am not an inerrantist.
Okay. Then, this question doesn't really apply, but I was going to ask how you deal with the genocide in the Old Testament, but whatever.
There's actually a really great...
I guess I'm done then, really.
Well, I just want to respond to that anyway. There's a really, really great podcast by William Lane Craig's Reasonable Faith podcast. He used to come out with one every week, but lately he's been a little slow. But there's this podcast at reasonablefaith.org that talks about did God commit atrocities in the Old Testament, and it's pretty easy to just deconstruct this argument, even if you're an inerrantist.